Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Hendrickson. I am super excited. Yesterday, you learned about the British surrendering to Washington. So today, we get to talk about the end of the Revolutionary War. We are now our own country. Super exciting. So here we go. We are on page 187. The heading says, "The Revolution Ends." Soon after the surrender, the British government began peace talks with France, Spain, and the Americans in Paris, France. The Treaty of Paris 1783 ended the American Revolution. Under the agreement, Great Britain recognized American independence. The Mississippi River became the new nation's western border. The treaty also opened the Mississippi River to ships from France, Spain, Britain, and the United States. So now all of those countries could use the Mississippi River for transporting goods. The American Revolution was over. The 13 colonies were now known as the United States. In his farewell orders to the Continental Army, Washington wrote that the determination of the troops, through almost every possible suffering and discouragement for the space of 8 long years, was little short of a standing miracle. The results of the war. Several years after the Revolution, John Adams was asked about the war. He said that there had been 2 revolutions. One was the war itself, the other was in the minds and hearts of the people. The United States had won independence, but not all the hearts and minds of the people had been changed. Loyalists leave. Now remember, the Loyalists were the colonists who were still on the side of the British throughout the war. When the war ended, about 60,000 Loyalists remained in the United States. Many of these people had been wealthy merchants before the war. Some had been forced to give up their homes and property during the fighting. After the war, many Loyalists moved to Canada, which remained a British colony. So remember, the British, during the French and Indian War, the British had gained the territory that the French had previously had in Canada and down throughout the United States. So now Canada was still under the control of Great Britain, but the rest of the United States was independent now as part of the United States. So some of the Loyalists moved to Canada. Other Loyalists remained in the United States and tried to fit in with the new society. Many former Loyalists decided to move to the western frontier. Native Americans lose lands. During the Revolutionary War, most Native Americans, including Joseph Brant, who led several Native American groups, sided with the British. This was because Great Britain had protected Native American lands west of the Appalachians from American settlement. Native Americans had fought to protect their own homelands, but many Americans saw them as enemies. As a result, settlers felt no guilt about taking land from people who had fought with the British. Slavery continues. In the Declaration of Independence, the phrase, "all men are created equal," led some people to believe that slavery might end. The new American government, however, needed the support of Southern plantation owners who depended on the labor of enslaved Africans. As a result, slavery continued in the new nation. And as we know, it will last until the Civil War, about 100 years later, before slavery is finally outlawed. But the Revolutionary War is over. Go ahead and finish your assignments for this page on Canvas. Thanks, boys and girls.